have a little fun with this one.
Be kind, Cedric.
I'm always kind. I'm always kind. Now, already, Boswell, beautiful card hoarder jersey. Both these players are members of Team Card Hoarder. I wish they could have made Boswell a Team Card Hoarder jersey without sleeves.
Yes.
You really have to have a conversation about that with the sponsor. But he's going to start things off with a Delver of Secrets off of a Polluted Delta as round number 10 is underway.
CVM needs like a Team Card Hoarder beard bow.
Beard bow?
Right?
Yeah, if they make beard bows, then yes. I don't know if that's a thing.
Well, it should be.
Well, it certainly can be.
And he should have one.
Yes. Chris is going to get an energy here from Aether Hub, and he will simply pass the turn back. Now, Chris is on Jeskai Eldrazi. We did a deck tech with him yesterday. So if you've not had the opportunity to watch that, I certainly implore you to do so after this match is over. Kind of explain exactly what's going on with his colorless 3-color deck, which doesn't make any sense, but it's true.
Yep.
We promise. Here's a Gataxian Probe. We'll see what Chris is working with now. Given that he did not play one of the 2 mana lands to start, this deck has so many of them in Ancient Tomb, Eldrazi Temple, and Eye of Ugin. Some versions even run City of Traders. You'll find 2 Chalice of the Void, a Reality Smasher. Looks like a Warping Whale. He does have a Temple in hand, it looks like. So starting off with a Hub and going to explode into potentially something else.
Yeah, this is a slower hand, but knowing the matchup, CVM kept this hand on the power of the 2 Chalice of the Voids. He wants to get one of those down for 1 and lock up almost every card in Boswell's deck.
That looks to be the plan. Boswell going to take down the information here from the Gataxian Probe. Make sure he knows exactly what VanMeter is working with. After he finishes this, he'll be drawing a card, of course. He is at 17, 2 Phyrexian mana. From the Probe, 1 from the Polluted Delta. And the Boz will draw a card. It's a Daze. Now, it appears to be a Cabal Therapy. See, this is a combo. This is a combo.
Explain.
Okay, so you look at your opponent's hand with Gataxian Probe at the cost of 2 life.
Okay.
And then Cabal Therapy. And we'll bring this up. We'll bring up Cabal Therapy, for those of you not familiar. You name a card.
Are you tricking us right now? I don't see the Cabal Therapy.
I see Chris. But Cabal Therapy, so you
there it is.
You name a non-land card, which you might know because of Gataxian Probe.
Okay.
And then that player reveals his hand, discards all of them with the same name.
So if they've got multiple copies, you have to cast this twice?
No, only once.
Only once?
Only once.
That's a powerful effect.
A really good card.
You could call that a combo.
I think I will. I think I will. Here's a Warping Whale. I have a feeling this is going to get dazed.
Yeah, Boswell stuck on lands here. He's probably going to miss his land drop next turn anyway, so returning the land to his hand is not that detrimental to him.
Not a great start for Chris.
Not a great start. But Boswell has a very slow start as well. He's really not exploding onto this board.
And the Delver's not flipping.
The Delver's not flipped. So Chris has time for his fatties to come onto this board and take over.
Polluted Delta was the draw there for Boswell, so he has found land number 2. Looks like he's going to start with the Delta. This will find him the red mana that he is lacking currently. You see a Lightning Bolt and a Young Pyromancer in Boswell's hand. Now we head back over to VanMeter. VanMeter will draw a Cavern of Souls.
That Cavern is a good one because Boswell's cheap to free counterspells are the way he wants to stay in front of these big Eldrazi decks.
Here is Cavern. It will very likely name Eldrazi, but we will confirm, and now I can confirm it is Eldrazi, as there's an Eldrazi Displacer. Polluted Delta will be sacrificed at the end of Chris VanMeter's turn. Boswell going to find a Volcanic Island. His deck is basically online now. Underground Sea in hand. Perhaps if he draws another fetch land, he'll search up a Tropical Island. We might see a Lightning Bolt at the end of turn. And we do take care of the Eldrazi Displacer.
Yeah, the Displacer is pretty good. It can unflip the Delver at any point.
Boswell 0 for 3 with Delver reveals. Delver a little shy this weekend. Young Pyromancer, however, is not. That'll enter the battlefield. Delver Secrets will attack for 1, and VanMeter will fall down to 17. Now we're going to see Boswell flashback Cabal Therapy.
Yeah, it looked like he's sacrificing the Delver.
He will get an elemental token. And that'll take care of that.
And CVM is in a real tight spot here.
Now if I'm VanMeter, I think, yeah, I think we make Boswell. There we go. Now now I don't know if we have any CVM elemental tokens in the kit. It looks like they're all Doningans now. That's a bad beat there for Chris. Doesn't make Boswell use VanMeter's own token.
Yeah, we talked about the little victories some yesterday, and CVM just missed his opportunity for a little victory.
CVM will top deck a Reality Smasher after losing it to Cabal Therapy.
You see Boswell with the hand wave a little bit there.
Yeah, come on. This is going to make things a little more difficult for the boss now. So he'll untap. He will draw, and he's found another counterspell. Nice. His third days of the game. None of them are going to be good here, it looks like.
Well, and I wonder if Boswell had wanted to use a Daze last turn on the Smasher. It does not counter it, obviously, because of the Cavern of Souls. But he can still play it just to generate a free elemental token.
That line of play might have to start working its way into the equation now.
Yeah. Because one thing that Boswell has is too many counterspells in his hand. The one thing he doesn't have is enough creatures on the board to fight with this Reality Smasher.
Mm-hmm.
He might be thinking about doing it right now to his own card.
Yeah, Delver's Secrets, he could hold priority. He could daze his own card and then pay the mana for it. I think that's what we're going to see, yes. He will return, trigger, pay the 1, keep the Delver. Get an elemental token. So the boss does know that line of play, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like it. He's got to get something going on this board because once the big Eldrazi start showing up, these little 1/1s have trouble fighting with them.
An attack for 3 and a passing of the turn. Perhaps we're in a racing situation as VanMeter will draw a card. Chris has found an Ancient Tomb to go along with the Cavern of Souls in his hand. I would be shocked to see a Reality Smasher on defense. Yes, it's much better on offense. So he's going to come across here for 5. Boswell's going to fall down to 6. Chris will play another Cavern. And he will simply pass the turn back.
Yeah, Boswell has a lot of great draw steps here. And any cantrip effect, a Brainstorm or Jataxian Probe, Ponder, all of these cards would just be spectacular for him.
Unfortunately for Boswell, it is just a young Pyromancer. Delver not willing to flip here. Chris will play a young Pyromancer. And I'm a big fan of getting in there with as many creatures as possible. And it looks like Boswell's going to take a more conservative approach.
Yeah, his life total's low enough that he's going to pile everything else in front of the Reality Smasher next turn and just trade his team for it.
Or at least try to.
Or at least try to.
Endless One, the draw.
That's a big boy.
Not a bad draw, but it is extremely chump blockable.
Yes. The young Pyromancer can generate 1/1s for a long time.
All aboard.
Boom, crunch.
There will be 1 trample damage that does come through from the Reality Smasher. Reality Smasher will bite the dust, along with 4 creatures on Boswell's side. Now the follow-up here for Chris. It's going to be a very large Endless One. Looks like it'll be a 6/6. Uncounterable. Boswell's going to daze here.
Yep, this is the play I talked about before. I like it.
Dazing in uncounterable spell simply to make a 1/1 off of Young Pyromancer. Chris will play an Ancient Tomb. He's empty-handed, and he'll pass the turn back. So now we go over to the Boz. The Boz will draw a True Name Nemesis.
Oh, that's another good one.
He needs a land to be able to play it, though, so we'll see if he draws one next turn. Over to VanMeter we go. He'll draw another Endless One, which means that this one can happily attack, and it will. And now he'll play another large Endless One. Force of Willing that, not going to do anything, given the Caverns. So another 6/6 here for Chris. Pass that turn back. Boswell needs a land right now. He found a Ponder.
That's still a fine spell here. We see CVM continue playing out all of his lands on the chance that he draws Eye of Ugin. He has enough in play to activate it immediately.
A Ponder, a Probe, and a Lightning Bolt here. Those are all pretty good.
Those are all pretty good. They're going to generate extra 1/1s and dig him deeper into his deck.
How about another Ponder? How about another 1/1? Take a look now. He knows 2 of them. What's the third one? Don't get a great look at it here for Boswell.
It looked like it might be another True Name Nemesis.
Well, he is going to shuffle away. For Boswell, 2 copies of True Name Nemesis in the main deck this weekend. Young Pyromancer is on make a bunch of chump blockers duty against these 2 6/6 Endless Ones.
Yeah, I liked Boswell's position earlier in the game, but Chris's deck has been very kind to him, just delivering him the biggest possible threats over 3 turns.
Well, let's see what it costs up this time. I have Ugin. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
There are worse draws. Hiya! The elemental tokens will block the Endless Ones. There's Eye of Ugin with the necessary mana to activate it, so things are going to get real bad for Boswell in a turn. So much, in fact, I'll be surprised if he can win now.
No, yeah, the double Endless one was already a big problem. The Eye of Ugin's just going to be backbreaking.
Boswell going to search up a volcanic island on his upkeep. Yeah, and Boswell, he took a look. He said, can you actually activate Eye of Ugin? Let me see how much mana you've got. 2 from Ancient Tomb. The rest will... Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm all set here. I can't beat that. Chris VanMeter going to win game number 1 here over Andrew Boswell. Jeskai Eldrazi up a game over Grixis Delver. Some timely top decks there for VanMeter, but that's what Legacy is all about. As you take a look at the sideboards, we will start with Andrew Boswell, who's got a Cabal Therapy, 3 Spell Pierce, a Pyroblast, a Red Elemental Blast, a Hydro Blast, all those blast effects, along with the Fork Bolt, Nuzao Shite, a Dreaded Knight, a Pithing Needle, a Surgical Extraction, 2 Abrupta Case, and 1 Sudden Demise. Talk to me about Andrew Boswell's sideboard.
This is one of the reasons that it's not great to show up with the Delver strategies. A lot of their sideboard options aren't super effective against the Eldrazi deck. Their creatures are just too big to easily get off of the board. They have Cavern of Souls to negate the counter spells. So a lot of these sideboard options just aren't super appealing. He still has to worry about, you know, some of the other things that Chris does. The Chalice of the Void obviously is a big problem for his deck, so he has to make sure he has answers for cards like that, but his answers for Chalice of the Void are not great answers for the Eldrazi that he has to deal with later in the game. So he's kind of between a rock and a hard place in this type of matchup. The key for him is keeping his deck really aggressive. He's got to come out ahead, hope that his counterspells can create just enough space for small creatures to finish the game before Chris VanMeter can take over.
On VanMeter's side, he's got 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Drowner of Hope, 2 All is Dust, and then some one-ofs here in Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, a Warping Whale, a Relic of Progenitus, a Batterskull, a Thorn of Amethyst, and a Pithing Needle. I feel like Chris has already got, I don't want to say a sizable advantage, but I think he's favoring the matchup, so does he have to change very much?
We might see a card like Batterskull come in if he feels like getting the life total buffers, just that little extra that he needs. But a lot of these cards are not aimed for this particular matchup.
I could see maybe the additional copy of Warping Whale coming in.
Maybe.
Takes care of Deathrite, takes care of Delver, but not Insectile Aberration.
Young Pyromancer.
Takes care of Young Pyromancer. Some good targets there. Obviously can't kill Trinity Nemesis, but what can? So those are the options there for both players. Commentators doing battle here at 6-3 in Baltimore. Before we do watch game number 2 of this affair, we will take a moment to talk about the StarCityGames.com, a weekly sale that'll be ending tomorrow at 10:59 a.m. East Coast time. So make sure you do check out the StarCityGames.com weekly sale so you can get 15% off select legacy and vintage singles like Sneak Attack, Thoughtseize, Mana Drain, all those dual lands, and a whole bunch more. New sale tomorrow, 11 a.m. East Coast time.
I'll be looking out for it. I know that we had some graded cards at Alpha Beta dual lands.
They should already be.
But I think they're all sold out.
Yeah,
so
they should already be at your place when you get there later this evening.
Probably.
A little drive back to the North Jers.
The North Jers?
The North Jers, not the North Jers.
I like it.
Jers. Is there a name for Northern Jersey, or is that just what people call it?
North Jersey.
Northern Jersey, that's it. All right, so before I get to Chris VanMeter here, what about the Jersey Shore? Is that a real thing, or is that just made for TV?
Like people like that?
Just like the whole thing.
Well, the Jersey Shore is a big place.
Okay.
You know, so there are parts that are a little more ridiculous.
Okay.
And then there's parts that are really nice.
Like, I've never been there, so I'm wondering if the show is like kind of fictional, like just kind of like made up, like they've just blown it out of proportion.
Well, I think it's like all the MTV shows, like the real world. Do you think that most places where young people are all living together are just like the real world?
No.
No.
All right. The Jersey Shore was a bad look for New Jersey, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think it was an accurate representation.
You don't think Snooki is a great brand ambassador for a whole state?
Tough to say. I don't want to judge the whole state by one person. Chris VanMeter is a player we're going to learn a little bit more about right now. 34-year-old who is currently residing out in the Seattle area. He just moved back recently. He's got 19, Open Topics. He's not 19. He's old. He's 34 with that beard. But he's got 5 open wins.
34 is not that old.
Are you trying to tell us something, Craig?
No, this has nothing to do with me.
Are you 34 years old?
I can't confirm or deny that.
One invitational top 8 for Chris as well. Big into chess, big into Kickstarters, big into college football, and big into winning on the SCG Tour. That is for sure. We saw him win in Indianapolis about 4 weeks ago with red-white vehicles. He liked that deck a lot, and he smashed a lot of people with it.
Big into beards.
Definitely big into beards. So the beard thing for a little while was just kind of it was a running thing on the SCG Tour. He said he wasn't going to shave until he won another tournament.
Yep.
It took him about a year to finally win one. Yeah, he had a lot of top 8s in the interim, but he just wasn't able to close out a tournament. Finally won one, and he was just like, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Just having a big old beard. So he trimmed it down. We made a video out of it with SCG, and then he's just like, no, I'm just going to keep this thing.
Yeah, at one point it was pretty unkempt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was real rough.
It was an intimidating beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then he just, I know that people have really big beards like that because there are, Chris has one, and Ross Merriam has had one for a little while, and some people are in the SCG office. There's like product and brushes for it. Like,
yeah, you got to take care of that.
It's like a real thing. It's a real thing because I can't grow a beard that large. I don't think I'd want to. I think that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, man.
It's a lot of hair. I mean, you can't even grow facial hair, so that's not even a shot. You don't have to worry about this. Unless this is something that you wish you could worry about.
No, I mean, you're right. I cannot grow facial hair. If I go, kind of more than a week without shaving, my wife is just like, hey, you look like a prepubescent boy over there. Like,
can you take care of that, please?
Yeah, you might want to clean up those 2 curly Qs that have sprouted on your chin.
I could go. I've gone kind of long before, but that's a labor of love. A beard that long. That's years of dedication.
Yeah, it's a good look for him, though.
I totally agree.
I could respect that beard.
Totally agree. We're underway here in game number 2. It's Volcanic Island from Andrew, and is there anything else? No. That's a boring start. He does have a lightning bolt, I suppose.
It looks like he already took a mulligan.
Here's a temple. There's an endless one. That might die to a lightning bolt.
So in a tough matchup like this, when you're already down a card, you got to keep a lot of hands on 6.
Bang. Endless one down. Boswell will draw. Polluted Delta.
He does have the Wasteland, which is very good against the Eldrazi decks. He has the turn 2 Young Pyromancer, which can get out of control.
Yeah, he's going to play the Young Pyromancer and the Wasteland, which means he'll likely Wasteland next turn. For VanMeter, he's going to play an Ancient Tomb. And now, a Warping Whale. We'll take 2 to play it. Now, Boswell's in an interesting spot because he has Force plus Cataxian Probe, and his last card is a Polluted Delta, so he's kind of all in now.
Yeah, forcing a card like that in this game is super painful. I mean, Boswell's just like all tapped out on resources, and it's only the second turn. CVM still has a pretty big grip, and there's going to be a bunch of fatties over there.
Yeah, he's got an endless one that's going to check all those elemental tokens, and heck, even Young Pyromancer really can't attack now either. So we're going to head back over to Boswell. Boswell will draw a card. It is a True Name Nemesis.
Well, that's a goodie.
That is a good draw. It was a good draw.
What was the best possible draw there?
I think it was True Name Nemesis.
All right.
A good card.
Look at Boswell just looking stoic and professional about this.
He's been here before.
Yeah.
This is business as usual for the Boz.
No, I draw that merfolk there. My eyes light up, I
have a chance to win, thank goodness.
Yeah. Looks like I might get blown out of this game, but I draw a good one. My hands start to shake. Ooh. Back in it.
Chris has drawn a Dismember. And it looks like if Boswell is going to activate a Wasteland this game, it's not going to be particularly good. He's got more lands in his hand, an Ancient Tomb and Cavernous Souls. So mana will not be an issue here for Chris, it appears. Now, how does he want to move forward? That'll be the question.
Yeah, I think Chris is just going to spend a couple of turns developing some fatties, and then he'll be able to start kind of rolling over this True Name Nemesis. Just be able to ignore it if his creatures are big enough.
Chris pretty deep in the tank here about how he wants to move forward. You mentioned the fatties. He does have another copy of Endless One in his hand that he can make into a 5/5. It would be uncounterable now, even though Andrew is all out of cards.
And it looks like a Displacer and that Dismember.
Okay. Eldrazi for the Cavern, of course. Three mana. He'll go to Displacer now. Is it perhaps time? I don't know if he wants to spend another Endless One right now. 2/2 Endless One seems kind of boring right now.
Yeah, if he wants to attack at some point, he wants the Endless Ones to be big enough to where a block with the True Name and a token isn't going to take down the Endless One.
To the Boz we go. He will draw. Did not get a great look at it.
Still stoic.
Always. It's that sugar loaf mentality, man.
Yeah. Consummate professionals.
Never get too high, never get too low.
Must be something in the water in Sugarloaf, huh?
The Dukes and the Boss?
Yeah, something magical, if you will.
It's a ponder. Maybe something magical. I think the question that Boswell was asking to himself is, what mana do I want to use to cast this?
Yeah, he's taking his time. He's thinking, what's the best possible situation? What's the worst possible situation off this ponder? And how do I want to position myself based off of those scenarios?
What's tough now is he's found a Lightning Bolt, but he used a Volcanic Island to play the Bonder. So if he uses Underground Sea, maybe he keeps the Lightning Bolt on top. Maybe not. Tough to say. But we are where we are right now. It looks like he's considering keeping with the Ponder. There's a lot to think about. It looks like might be a Wasteland in
Looked
there.
like Delver, Wasteland, Lightning Bolt. So he's wondering if he wants the Delver on top, in which case the Lightning Bolt needs to be the next card to flip the Delver as soon as possible. It looked like he briefly considered taking the Wasteland to double Wasteland this turn and really set CVM back.
That could have been brutal. I do like an attack with the True Name Nemesis. Here that comes. You got to try to win this game.
Yeah, 3 on the ground, and he knows that.
Go Wasteland the Eldrazi Temple.
This Delver's going to flip next turn, so he's 3 on the ground, 3 in the air. CVM can't effectively stop either of these. It's a pretty good situation. I thought Boswell was going to be in a really tough spot this game, but it's shaping up much better for him than I would have guessed.
That ponder was quite helpful.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Thought not see the draw here for Chris. Chris still with that Dismember, Endless One, and Ancient Tomb in hand. I think the main thing here to note for Chris is that the mana base is painful right now.
Yes.
And Boswell is almost forced to race, given how his cards have lined up. So. This could be a difficult game for VanMeter.
Yeah, the lands are painful, and then casting that Dismember.
Oh, yeah, that hurts too.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
So that's a big chunk of his life total that he's got to consider there.
Also, if you're going to activate Eldrazi Displacer, that's painful too. So this is going to be a tough game for Chris. He's just going to pass the turn back right now. Delver, trigger, Lightning Bolt. Transformation complete. The Sextile Aberration is here. Lightning Bolt will be the draw, but Chris is saying, well, Andrew's asking, can I draw this card? All right, yes you can. See how Boswell wants to attack and how he wants to use the Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I think he's considering bolting the Displacer pre-combat.
That would allow him to maybe get some more attacks in this turn. Yep, there is a Lightning Bolt on the Displacer. There'll be a trigger for Young Pyromancer. There's no elemental token. That is on the stack. He displays her. It takes 2 colorless and a generic. Exile another, excuse me, 2 generic and a colorless.
Yeah, and that's going to put Boswell just way too far ahead.
Yeah, it's the Ancient Tombs, I think, that are going to do Chris in.
Yeah, he had a lot of things he could do, but everything that he would do would just deal him too much damage.
Yeah. And you know the Train Nemesis is going to keep coming across, and VanMeter knows there's no way for me to win this game. So Andrew Boswell is going to win game number 2 over his coverage teammate, Chris VanMeter. Grizz's Delver, Jeskai Eldrazi getting ready here for game number 3. Didn't really see a lot of sideboard cards there.
Nope, didn't expect a whole lot.
Yeah, so I don't expect a lot to change for either player, truthfully. The matchup I still think is probably in favor of Chris, just because of the explosiveness of the deck. And I know that, after turn 2, after the Force of Will, I did not expect Andrew to win that.
Yeah, he was just out of cards, out of gas, and fortunately, that's why you show up with cards like Ponder.
Yep.
You can sculpt the right hand, find the cards that you need.
It's also why you show up with Train Nemesis.
Yeah.
That's a really good creature, as it did demonstrate during that particular game. So while these players do shuffle up, you're ready here for game number 3. We're going to talk about Game Night, the very popular promotion with Star City Games, where we've got some new things coming down the pipeline. Now, it is the month of November, so on our jackets, we do have the wonderful Mole Warden pin and the Mole Warden tokens, which are 2/1 clerics. If you go to December, it'll be Fintuition. Be making some 6/6 whales. Now, unfortunately, for Intuition, doesn't see as much play anymore.
It still seems like a pretty powerful card. Could search up Life from Loam and then 2 specific lands, Wasteland and a Caracas.
Yeah, this card was a legacy staple for a while.
Yeah, there are a lot of very powerful things that you can do with this card. I think it's just too expensive. 3 mana in the legacy world is a lot.
It's too much?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to say, but I think I agree. Hopefully we see more of that card. And then, finally, it is Squeaky Cheeky Acorn Breaker, a playoff of Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. 1/1 goblins are on the way. You can get all of this stuff at your local game night. If you do want to sign up and get more information, go to starcitygames.com/game night. We want to thank everybody at home and all of our tournament organizers for putting this awesome program together.
Yeah, we talked yesterday about Squeaky Cheeky. I got that right? Yeah?
Well done, yes.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
About whether or not he's a chipmunk or a squirrel.
Yes, yes.
And someone tweeted, you can tell by the size of the tail.
I did not know that.
Well, chipmunks have little tails and squirrels have big bushy tails.
Okay.
But I'm not, I was trying to look at that artwork. I'm not sure
we'll have to,
if there's a clear shot of the tail on that artwork.
Chris, see, this is why Chris is part of the coverage team. He knows that right now we need to take a look at the tail on Squeaky Cheeky really quick. So he has obliged us.
He's going to take a mulligan just...
He will take a mulligan just for us to make sure. And what you're going to find is you're not going to get a look at the tail at all.
Yeah, is there a tail back there? I can't tell what's going on.
I'm not sure. I don't think that there is. But yeah, if it was a squirrel tail, you could probably see it. It'd be really big and bushy.
So we're thinking this is a chipmunk.
So I'm led to believe that this is a chipmunk with Squeaky Cheeky.
Chipmunk goblin.
Correct. We stretch a little.
No, hey, man.
We stretch.
Lots of things can happen in the fantasy world.
That is very true. Sometimes a squirrel carries an Umasawa Jite, for example, and kills opponents. So totally get it. Totally get it. Chris going to lay out 6 cards here.
Yeah, the flavor that comes up sometimes. You're talking about Umazawa. Just anytime an equipment ended up something on something like a tree folk.
Well, Chris is going to go to 5 now. Yes.
Like, hey, I'm a giant tree. Well, I'd crush people, but give me that sword over there. Like.
Well, in the newest set, thriving turtle driving a renegade freighter. Just turtle driving a train.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Hey, we need a captain for this vehicle. Yeah. The turtle's like, hey.
Who better? Who better than me to take care of this? Chris is on his way down to 5. So let's learn a bit more about his coverage partner and all-around good man from Sugarloaf, New York. It is Andrew Boswell, the 32-year-old with 9 open top 8s and 1 win. The member of Team Card Hoarder, who is a professional ceramic artist. He has made things for many a person on the SCG Tour. He does some great work. Ian Duke, member of WotC R&D, you see him on the WotC coverage team as well, taught him how to play this wonderful card game. So thank you, Ian Duke, for doing that, because now we have been blessed with Boswell's presence at many a tournament.
Yeah, it's been a gift that keeps on giving.
Yes. For Chris VanMeter, it's a mulligan of 5, but this might actually make it so that Boswell has sort of mulliganed to 5 with a chalice for 1.
I mean, that's an understatement. The turn 1 chalice is almost an instant winner by itself. Now, Chris has taken a bunch of mulligans.
So who did mulligan here? Who did mulligan? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like the perfect start. If you're gonna,
Oh, is it?
if you're gonna mull the 5,
Is this a good start? Here's the thought not zero turn 2. All right, Boswell's hand. He has he's moved the abrupt decay forward.
yeah,
I think you might want to take this one. There's a probe, 2 delvers, a GT, young pyromancer, and a flooded strand. I think he has to take
a couple of 1-drops in that hand.
Yeah, I think he has to take the decay so he can keep behind this chalice.
He does. I mean, best case scenario, like if Chris doesn't stop him, Boswell's still going turn 2 creature, turn 3 jitty, turn 4 equip the jitty. That's just so slow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Chris gets 1 more creature on the board at any point, I don't think Boswell can come back from that.
Pretty tough.
Yeah.
Boswell had a hand that you would keep, I think, 100 times out of 100.
Of course, yeah.
You've got the decay for the chalice.
Yep.
You've got everything that you need. He's going to sacrifice both these flooded strands, going to fall down to 18. You've got great 1-drops. You've got a probe to figure out what's going on. You've got young pyromancer to make chump blockers and GT to actually make those chump blockers into effective chump attackers.
Yeah, the Eldrazi deck isn't super appealing to me, but when you see draws like this,
Oh, I'm on board.
yeah, this is when it's just like, yeah, I totally understand why people play a deck like this.
Yeah. It's an easy sell for me. The boss is going to get a volcanic island.
Turn 1, shut down 2/3 of your opponent's deck. Turn 2, strip the answer out of their hand and have a 4/4 threat on the board.
That's my start. You're up.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Boss deciding between Tropical Island and Underground Sea. If he gets the Trop here, it means that Decay is sort of on.
Well, Abrupt Decay still requires him to search up the other one at some point, either way. I think he was just considering, all the black spells are turned off at this point anyway. So he was, I assume, looking for a reason to keep the green one and just couldn't come up with a reason to keep the green source.
This is Young Pyromancer. That's Gataxian Probe. That's going to be countered by Chalice, but it's a free token.
Pay 2 life, make a 1/1.
Yep. Let's go back over to VanMeter, who has Endless One, and I think another land, and he has drawn a Cavern. Okay. Here comes Thoughtnauts here. In a sec. There we go. Boswell going to fall down to 12. Cavern, name Eldrazi. 5/5 uncounterable. Your play. Like I said, who mulliganed here? Boss has, of course his draw step was a daze. Nice. Here's a JT. And pass the turn back. We'll go to CVM. CVM will draw Eldrazi Temple to go along with Aether Hub. So he is out of gas at the moment. I think he's just got to keep on trucking over. I don't think he has much of a choice.
Yeah, the only way for Boswell to keep in this game is the strategy that he has. A card like Young Pyromancer churning out some chump blockers and then getting the Jitty online on the offensive. We see the CVM is already at 14. He's done a good bit of damage to himself with his lands. So it's not like he can just completely ignore his own life total and get overly aggressive here.
Boswell drew a Deathrite Shaman and a Daze in the interim. You see the 2 Delver Secrets are face up.
And the rough part about that hand for Boswell, these aren't even 1-mana spells that would be countered by the Chalice of a Void and generate 1/1 tokens for him. They're creatures, and they're just stuck in his hand for the rest of the game.
Looks like he's going to block the Endless One with the Young Pyromancer token, maybe. It's a hard maybe. Yes. And I remember back in our day, it was Jite could get you out of a lot of tough situations.
Almost any.
We're going to see if this card's still as good as it used to be right now. Underground Sea, the draw. It's time to equip the Jite. Of course it's time to attack. Got to get some charge counters right now. Yep.
There's a small argument to be made for leaving it back. He can block the Thought Knot Seer, generate the 2 counters, and then use the 2 counters to finish off the Thought Knot Seer.
Okay.
That strategy is a little more precarious. He doesn't necessarily end up with the counters that he wants on the Jitty.
I want to cast a 1-drop there. Maybe he misses the challenge trigger.
Yeah, and you can always daze your own 1-drop.
Also that, yeah.
To generate a 1/1.
Yeah. I want to give it a shot. All right, here come the Knuckleheads. Going to remove a counter to gain 2 life. He's going to go up to 10, down to 1. After all said and done. Can Umezawa's Jite do it by itself? I mean, Chris hasn't drawn another spell. He drew an Eye of Ugin this turn. I mean, that starts to work its way into the equation here. Chris will play the Eye. Aether Hub's the last card. He'll pass the turn back. Let's see what the Boz draws. A lot of good ones here. True Nemesis is probably the best of the bunch. Ponder.
Okay, this isn't over. Boswell can generate a couple of 1/1s through the Ponder and the Daze. He's going to get a couple more counters on his Jite.
It's definitely not over. It's going to be real tough, but Jite has gotten people out of many a situation.
Yeah, this is a tight game.
So if I'm Boswell this turn, I like cast Ponder, hold priority, daze it. I get 2 elementals, attack with my Young Pyromancer, has 3, and then move the equipment over to one of the blockers.
Okay. You don't have to hold the priority when you cast the Ponder, right? Because your opponent has to see the trigger from the Chalice?
I think. It's like if you cast the Ponder, then the Chalice trigger goes on the stack?
I don't know how Chalice works.
Yeah, it should go on the stack. I think he has to hold. It's safer to just hold priority.
And that's
what he's going to do. Because Chris isn't going to miss the trigger for the Chalice. And so now he's going to move this over here.
Yeah, and this is actually a tough spot for CVM now.
Yeah, things have gotten a lot worse because this is the power of Jite. Now, if Chris actually draws some sort of relevant spell here, he's obviously in good shape, but he has not drawn one in the past couple of turns, and
That looks like a Mimic?
Yeah, he has not drawn one this turn.
That's not a goodie here. 1 toughness creature does not line up well against the Jite. And this really developed into a great game after the turn 1 Chalice for 1.
Maybe Jite is still good enough to get people out of trouble.
Yeah, it's possible. I just forgot how good this card is.
Yeah, it's a silly card. Yes, right now the elemental token that's wearing the Jite beats all of Chris's creatures in combat.
Yep.
And if Chris doesn't do anything, the Jite is going to get more counters. He's got no good blocks available. And if he does opt to block, obviously he's going to lose the creature in combat that he blocks with because of the Jite. So, back in 05, this was a thing that was going on in Standard. For those of you who weren't playing then.
And limited sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
If you think this is ridiculous, imagine playing against this card in limited.
There was 1 way to kill it? 2? Wear Away and Tarashi's Grasp? I think there was 2. Both of those were unplayable in limited outside of killing Jite.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, there was Manriki. Was that?
Manriki Gusari, killed other.
Was that the same time?
Yeah, that was the same time. That was an uncommon. It was a good card.
Good card. Very playable card.
Yeah. All right, Endless One. Endless Fun.
CVM offering to trade his 5/5 for a bunch of tokens off of the Jite.
Kinda.
Not a great proposition, but he has not a lot of options here.
I'm totally interested. If I'm Boswell.
Yeah, of course.
I'm down. I think what Chris is trying to do here He's trying to walk Boswell into a mistake. Like, I have a dismember, I have a warping whale, or something like that. But Boswell's at 1.
Yep.
So he's going to block, and I think he's just got every reason to block with that particular card.
Well, and if CVM had any of those cards, you know, he would have had to have just drawn it.
Yes.
You know, all of those cards would have come out earlier in the game.
A Mimic, an Aether Hub giving Chris an energy, and a passing of the turn. We'll see what we're getting cleared up here. I guess the Mimic actually just costs 0.
Yeah.
Because of the Eye of Ugin. I think Chris is explaining. So I guess it can only cost 0 because there's Eye of Ugin. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he actually just can't pay mana for it.
He was trying to use the Cavern of Souls to make it uncounterable.
Yeah, he actually just can't do that.
And he forgot that it just costs 0.
Hey, Wasteland. That's going to shut off the Eye of Ugin plan that Chris is on.
That's another good draw step.
Yeah. Now, there are other lands over there that Boswell can opt to kill, but I think Wasteland is probably the best of the bunch. For now, the Boz is trying to figure out what he wants to equip with the Jite. Eldrazi Temple, as Boswell takes a look, it cannot be used to activate. It cannot generate 2 mana for Eye of Ugin. It can only generate 1 for Eye of Ugin.
Boswell's deciding who wants to wear the pants around here.
Yep. Looks like it's going to be a young Pyromancer. Can't stop, won't stop attacking.
And no good blocks for CVM here.
Nope. Boswell is going to kill Eldrazi Mimic, and he's going to dare Thought-Knot Seer to block.
Yeah, doesn't want to let him chump block with that Mimic.
So a little bit of damage is going to come across. More charge counters on the very powerful equipment, as you are seeing.
Man, how did anyone ever beat a Jite?
Yeah, not many people did.
Oh, was this before the legendary rule was changed? Did playing your Jite blow up your opponent's Jite at this time?
No, it was first Jite.
Oh, his first Jite stayed on the board?
Yes.
How is that a rule?
I'm pretty sure. Okay, so it was definitely, in 05, it definitely wasn't, if I play my Jite, it blows up your Jite. That was not a thing back in 05. Like, if I play my Jite, it destroys your Jite. That did not happen. I don't think it was first Jite. I don't think it was first Jite rule in 05 because, like, they changed that rule because of Lin Civi.
Okay.
Because I believe Lin Civi back in the day was like, if I had Lin Civi before you, your Lin Civi just didn't do anything.
Well, I don't know. So Lin Civi was never a card in competitive play because they banned it right before the Pro Tour. There was an emergency ban of Lin Civi like 2 weeks before that Pro Tour.
Yeah, I remember that because it was just too good.
It
was like before I started playing competitive Magic, but I do remember that.
I believe that Pro Tour was that block?
Yeah, it was block.
Yeah, and they didn't want only Lin Civi decks to show up for the Pro Tour, so they emergency banned it just before the Pro Tour. So I don't know what the Lin Civi legendary interaction was at that time.
I think Twitter obviously can chime in. My memory is a little bit fuzzy. Maybe it was if you played a Jite, it blew up their Jite, because I think maybe some people sideboarded Jites just to blow up other Jites.
But explain to our fans the first legend rule that used to exist.
Oh, which was if I had a legend, if I had a Lin Civi first, you just couldn't, like, you couldn't play yours?
Yeah.
I think it was, I think that was the rule, which is not great.
Yeah, a legendary creature can only exist once in the multiverse.
Correct.
And so once someone has one, the other person doesn't get to have one.
Yeah. Yeah, which is not it's not good.
The best way to counter your opponent's bomb is just have the same one in play first.
Correct. So can you imagine if I have a Jace Mind Sculptor and you don't? That sucks, man. you just lose. The game is just over. Wow, Boswell going to come in with both creatures now. The Elemental token is wearing a Jite that has 4 counters, and then
yeah, this is an easy attack because CVM has to get a creature in front of the big token.
Yeah, he's got to put it in front of the token, or he just takes lethal. Unless he's got some sort of nice trick in his hand. Oh, Jite. We were curious if it would be good enough to get the job done. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Put him to the test.
I dare you to try to kill me.
You think this is going to work out?
I will pump once. I will attempt to pump a second time. All right, it's a 5-5. I will make it a 7-7. Is that okay? Chris is a reach in. What do we have? Okay, we have Dismember. This is in response to the third pump.
Yeah, so it's currently a 5-5.
Correct. Attempting to become a 7-7. So if he pumps now, it becomes a 7-7, falls down to a 2-2, falls down to a 2-2, then up to a 4-4.
Yes.
Okay.
CVM will take the 4, going to 2. The Thought Not Seer is going to eat the Young Pyromancer. And we're still going to have a Thought Not Seer looking at an Elemental wearing a Jitty with 2 counters on the Jitty.
And then the Thought Not Seer will have 2 damage on it.
Yes.
So Chris will probably want to finish it off, or excuse me, Andrew will want to finish it off with the Jitty counters.
Potentially. He might not want to make that play because the counters are so valuable. It allows him to keep attacking. Oh, no, he's at 1 life. Yeah, he's got to finish it off.
Yeah, I think he's got to finish it off, and I also think he wants the card.
It's tough that the card, he's so many 1-drops in his deck, and he's still looking at that Chalice on 1. But he can't let himself just die either.
Yeah. I mean, he could use the Jitty to gain 4 life, go up to 5, down to 1. I think you just have to kill it because you just get to draw a card.
Yeah, he's got to kill it. It gets it off the board permanently, and it draws him a card.
Yeah, this is too hard to pass up on, I think. All right, Boswell's going to draw.
But that was quite the exchange.
I think Cabal Therapy.
I believe it was a Cabal Therapy.
Yep.
Look at CVM.
Chris knows that he can draw Obligator or Smasher right now to win the game.
Yep.
Now, Boswell does have a Wasteland that he could use.
It's not going to turn off any of those outs.
But he could use it on Eye of... It doesn't turn off those outs, but he could turn off Eye of Ugin right now. And if he does hit Cavern, it would stop Obligator from mattering because he'd have no red mana.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, turning off the Eye of Ugin, getting the Eye of Ugin doesn't do anything. Chris can't activate it.
Ooh, it's a sweat.
Oh, I like this.
Sweat.
I like it. Come on, baby.
He's too slow. Maybe it actually does something. Just doesn't win the game. You wouldn't slow your coverage partner, would you? Would you? I don't. Would you? I don't think you would. Hey, Polluted Delta, nice.
Would that put my job in jeopardy?
Maybe. I would not crack that Polluted Delta in 1 life. I can't recommend that. Now, if you gain some life, I would crack the Polluted Delta.
Sure.
All right. He hits with the Jite. It's 1-1. Now Boswell's going to go up to 3. Now back down to 2.
Yep, he's got the Abrupt Decay in his hand that he's been sitting on for a couple of turns here.
Yes. It's time to get a tropical island.
See, and I think Boswell's thought process earlier when he was considering the Underground Sea or the tropical island was, hey, I'll get the tropical island now, and I'll have a good chance of just drawing an Underground Sea because there's more copies of that in my deck. Mm-hmm. And he ended up settling on the Underground Sea, and then he drew another Underground Sea.
That's right, Shaman Delver.
And then, yeah, later when he drew the Abrupt Decay, he didn't have the green source that he needed.
And he just drew a Warping Whale, which is not going to do it, I do not believe.
Nope.
So,
super close. Wow.
Andrew Boswell going to win this match over Chris VanMeter. Grixis Delver will take care of Jeskai Eldrazi. And good friends and coverage teammates, someone's got to lose. CVM picks up the loss. Andrew picks up the win. He'll have bragging rights in the booth for many events to come.
That was a game.
It was a third game. That demonstrates the power of Jite in creature matchups. For those of you who are not around in 05, like Craig and I,